You're listening to 89.9 KCRW. I'm Jason Bentley, and this is Morning Becomes Eclectic. Later on in the hour, we'll be giving away tickets to the very first ever Music Tastes Good Festival, a 3-day food and music festival taking place in the streets of downtown Long Beach, featuring The Specials, De La Soul, Warpaint, Rival Sons, and more.
This meeting was very important because the organizers, along with the people who live and work in the East Village neighborhood of Long Beach, want to make sure everything goes off without a hitch, and that when the music starts on September 23rd, everyone is happy.
I have a business.
I have a business too on First Street.
We're not going to make money on this.
We're not going to make money. Why in the world?
I'm not against you guys.
If you knew Josh, at some point you were going to have a fallout with him.
When he wanted something, he was going to get it.
Josh was also one of those people that I don't think a lot of people said no to.
He was a dreamer. He was always a dreamer. He had this vortex of just pulling you into this amazing idea.
4 different stages in downtown Long Beach.
Well, if this goes wrong, it's going to go really wrong, and it's going to be right in our neighborhood.
If anybody could pull off a festival, it was going to be Josh.
He wasn't going to let anything get in his way.
He was still spinning out of control. He just couldn't do it all, and he wanted to do it all.
That weekend was more than really what we thought it was.
He brought everyone to him so he could say bye. I mean, that's what it was.
Hi, we're rolling. My name's Josh Fischel. This is Long Beach. This is where I live. I live actually below this roof. And I'm a singer-songwriter.
Josh was born in the early morning of June 25th, just after 2 o'clock in the morning, which, by the way, seems totally appropriate given Josh's late night preferences. Josh had told us when he was 3, I want to be an actor. And when he was 4, we asked him the question, he said, I want to be a director. And when he was 5, he said, I want to be a producer.
It started at an early age. He found a passion for, not only for music, but just the passion for sharing it with people. He always made mixtapes. He always tried to tell you you didn't know the right type of music or the right band or the right song, but he did, and he was prepared to show you.
He didn't lose his imagination when other people did, so when I would say 8, he'd still play G.I. Joe with me, or still play comic book action figures, or play, he's like 14, 15 years old. Most people are out of that stage of their life, and he's like, no, we're still doing that.
I think everybody was in love with Josh. I don't even know if you didn't have to be male, female. The moment that you got a second, even when he was 16 years old, he had this magnetic personality of sucking you in and making you fall in love with him.
Right after high school, he got really involved in musical theater, started doing semi-professional shows.
Just what you need, Charlie. Your own forest for treat. Silent, peaceful, huh? What do you think? I shouldn't have come. No.
Josh decided that he wanted to go to New York and give it a try.
And he was also the guy that had never really gotten into video editing or directing or whatnot, but decided he was going to give it a try, and then got a job at MTV from it just a year later. It was just something that he put his mind to, and he just did it. And he did that a lot.
He was like a competitive consumer of everything. Always wanted to have an incredible time. It was really important to him to kind of push the limits of creativity and fun, and that led to some pretty wild times in my early 20s.
He was an artist. He was kind of all over the place. He had tons of ideas. Everything was very grand. Started always searching, true artist fashion. He was just never happy. It's probably why we did a lot of drugs.
As a musician and with all the creative people I know, all of us are good ideas people. But he had both, he had the ability to have these sometimes crazy ideas, and then he knew how to tie it together. He knew how to see his vision through. And, he was the people's mayor of Long Beach. Everywhere he's going, he's kissing babies and shaking hands, and everyone's paying tribute to him.
Josh just seemed like kind of a magnet. Everywhere he went, there were people around him that kind of wanted to be in his circle. He just had this kind of infectious personality. When he was excited about something, it rubbed off on you and you found yourself walking away going, whoa, I'm like really hyped on this. You just kind of had this feeling like he had a plan and you knew he was going to do some really cool things.
First time I met Josh, I was attending a rock music camp in Chico. So he was not a counselor, but like a teacher during the day. Every night, him and Zippy would get fucked up downtown Chico, come back to the dorms right after the kids got off of dinner. So we're all in the lobby and the elevator doors opened and they were both wearing full skateboard pads, like elbow pads, knee pads, wrist guards, helmets, and they were throwing each other against the walls, knowing from 13 years old that he's been a touring musician his whole life. That's what he did for a living. I wanted to be that. I wanted to do that.
I was down at the Coach House in San Juan Capistrano, and I don't recall if I wasn't let in the venue for the show because I was too intoxicated or if the bouncer knew I had a fake ID. It was Josh Fischel, Slightly Stupid, and Pepper all performing acoustic. And I saw Josh hanging out with the guys from Pepper, and I was like, I'm gonna tell him I couldn't get in the show and tell him I'm a fan, and told me to grab some music equipment and literally walked me right in the show through the back door, told me to have fun, kid.
He asked me to be his tour manager not too long after we met. It was like, hey, you wanna come hang out? And a couple weeks later, hey, you would think you'd be a good tour manager. You wanna get on the road with us? And we had a really great show in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and the next day we had it off. We're having a great time, and we start running up our tab. When you're on the road, every dollar you save is like what you come home with. So nobody really wanted to pay the bill, and Josh pulls me aside. He's like, hey, I got this really good idea. Why don't you just go talk to the manager, like tell him we'll do like a jam session or something. He's like, but it has to come from you. Been drinking all day, I'm like, all right, let's go. Talk to the manager. And he's like, you know what? How soon can you do it? And we had everybody ready to rock in like 15 minutes, kept eating, kept drinking. He gave us a few bucks after, and it was like this epic party because Josh had this idea.
He showed up at Shoreline Jam one year when I was managing that. We were talking and just like kind of catching up for a minute and stuff. And then he's like, oh, I gotta get up on stage. And I was like, huh? And then he went up and like played with Pepper for a couple songs. And I was like, holy shit. It was just one more thing where you're like, oh my God, he's so larger than life. But like so down to earth and just talking about everything else. And then like, oh, I gotta go for a second. Get up on stage in front of 8,000 people.
We had kind of been hanging out all day. We started at O'Connell's with breakfast sandwiches and went to a barbecue and then proceeded to go back to my place. And it was all kind of with a group of friends. And I was living in a studio apartment in Belmont Shore at the time, and I had this really cool fire escape. So we ended up on the fire escape at like 6 in the morning and the sun was coming up. And he just totally laid it out there. He was like, listen, I like you and I want to be your boyfriend. And he's like, and I like you enough that I'll just be your friend if that's what you want. He's like, but I want more. So I didn't ever have to guess, which was why I liked him.
Hey, my name's Josh Fischel.
And I'm Abby Fischel.
Of course you are.
He knew from the instant he met Abby that he was in love with Abby. I remember him looking across the room telling me, I'm gonna marry that girl.
His face lit up, you could tell. She was the perfect person to understand him and to give him the support to get him focused on what he wanted to do.
There was absolutely no question once we met Abby and once we saw them together that they were going to end up staying together.
It didn't stop.
Go down, mama, go down. Go down, papa, go down. Go down, baby, to the water's edge. Go down, mama, go down.
The production company he was doing was called Riot Stage Productions, and pretty much every concert we put on for that felt very epic. It felt like summer camp because we'd just have these rehearsals like crazy for a week, and then that would all like culminate in this awesome event.
All the shows Josh put on were fabulous. You could tell he came from a place of wanting to exceed as a performer, and he elevated everybody in his troupe. At the time, we had a monthly show at our house where we would invite local performers. And Josh came and performed a couple times at those shows. So just getting to know Josh mostly through music and food. He actually also put on a show for me for my 50th birthday. It was a combination of the Juliet Letters by Elvis Costello and then the full album of the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. And that was just absolutely stunning, both of those. The Juliet Letters was unique because he also brought in some theater component to it.
I remember he called me. He said, hey, I met this guy named John Molina. He loves music. He loves food. He loves Long Beach. He wants to do things. He said, I didn't really know if I should, say this to him, but I just decided, hey, I want to throw a music festival.
I could tell he was really nervous, but he had this great meat and cheese platter laid out, music going on in the background, dogs running around everywhere. So we just kind of started talking about the idea that day.
This is the first time I've ever heard of this, and I'm like sitting there staring at him, like, but trying to be supportive, but I'm like, what the F are you talking about right now? Like, this is like kind of massive what he's saying, and I wonder if he knows what he's saying. And then, of course, John Molina's like, yeah, sounds great. We should do that.
Whatever Josh put his mind to was going to be outstanding. And if anybody could pull off a festival, it was going to be Josh. So I said, you know what? Josh, I got your back. Let's do this.
When he pitched the idea, as far as like, when he gave me the details, it was supposed to be a 7-day Oktoberfest. Film, music, food, all throughout downtown Long Beach.
It was like a barrage of ideas, because he'd always call me up and he'd like, I'm doing this festival and I want to get this band. What do you think of this? It was just crazy ideas that one after another, and it was cool to hear, and I appreciated them, but it all seemed really far-fetched because I didn't know for a fact that Josh didn't have any money to do this. Like, it was just nonstop.
Every other week, every month, he'd call me with another idea. And he always had ideas. He was a dreamer. He was always a dreamer. He was a dreamer when he was, 5 or 6 years old. And I always wanted to support his ideas, but sometimes they just seemed so grand and not obtainable that I probably did a little too much of, okay, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, and just sort of writing him off. And Music Tastes Good was one of those initially.
He wanted to hand curate the music side at the same exact time he wanted to hand curate the food as well. And he told me that numerous times, he was like, it has to be our festival. It has to highlight all the hard work that everybody's putting on in this city.
His favorite thing to do for friends was just to create those types of experiences for him, bring back what he had learned. So the fact that he was getting to that on a large scale was incredibly driving for him.
He wanted to take like a mixtape and put it in festival form. It all stemmed from his love of his city and wanting to show it off and showcase it and show people all the great, cool things that he and his friends were doing.
It was all for Long Beach. It was in order to give Long Beach a treat, to expose his friends, bands, and art. He was such a passion to help his friends out, and there aren't a lot of people like that. It's really crazy.
We had been looking at local spaces, and we found this really great one literally across the alley from Josh and Abby's apartment.
I saw the spot. It was just a big warehouse. And I was like, the stage can go right here, the bar can go over here.
I kind of was shocked that he found an office, to be honest, because Josh had so many ideas. So when all of this started becoming a reality, there was moments of just shock. I was like, you have an office? Like this is this is really happening?
I was impressed with the core team right off the bat. Everyone there was impressive. Everyone was green in a way, but it was a quirky group of artists. And still to this day, I think it's the best team I've ever been a part of.
Brandon Halverson, amazing person. A very interesting way that he kind of infiltrated Music Tastes Good or became part of our team.
I had a startup that I was trying to get off the ground that had to deal with the music industry. I was trying to sell him on my idea, and as a local musician, I really trusted his opinion and feedback, and he would kind of listen to me, like, oh yeah, that's cool, it's cool. So this festival, and he would kind of just go on this whole thing about the festival, and then he kind of got me all excited about it. He had this vortex of just pulling you into this amazing idea and this charisma and this electricity about him of what he was doing, and I don't think he would have been able to build the team that he did without that.
He pretty much walked me through the streets and he said, we're gonna close down this street, we're getting this band, we're doing this. Think big, think the biggest thing you've ever been a part of. Told me he wanted me to take care of all sponsorships. To put it lightly, a lot of the brands and a lot of my friends that I approached, when I told them what we were doing, thought we were crazy. They thought, how the hell are you guys gonna pull this off?
Dork. The agents knew me because I had already been booking at that point for probably like 16 years, so they knew who I was. But that being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to confirm, but it was just refreshing that there was going to be this kind of different festival that was all over the place. Like, agents were just like, what the hell did you book? Like, it made no sense to anybody.
It was just weird. You had jazz, you had hip hop, you had throwback bands from the 70s and 80s, and then like this amazing undercard of these artists that we had all gone out and searched for that were nobody at the time. And some of those bands are now a lot bigger. And that was another thing I really credit Josh with, was he was very adamant about seeking out these small artists and really giving them a platform amongst these bigger artists.
Typically you do offers and like 80% of the bands don't confirm, but this was the opposite, where nearly all the offers we were doing, the bands were confirming, and our talent budget just kept going up.
From the very beginning, Josh was very much like De La Soul. He wanted to be one of the headliners. Like, I have so many emails where he's talking about De La Soul.
And then I ran into the agent at Coachella, which would have been in April, which was like 2 weeks before announced. And he's like, hey, let's revisit De La Soul on Music Tastes Good. I still have your offer. Let's talk about it after Coachella. And then they end up confirming.
The budget had always fluctuated. And I think the challenge was, for a first-year festival, you need to have headliners. You need to have artists that are willing to play your festival. And so a lot of the budget went to talent, which makes sense, because without the talent, there's no festival. But at the same time, there was challenges in that budget because the infrastructure wasn't supported for the needs of those artists. So things started to go up quickly. And I think Megan's biggest challenge, because she was, working with Josh on the budget, was just constantly seeing it go up.
Josh would have meetings with John that were just the two of them, and I tried to prep him for them and try to make sure he'd come back with stuff, and then we're just dealing with his word.
You never saw a 6'5" guy shrink the way Josh would when he would come into my office. Because I know he felt terrible having to ask for more money.
That was the part that Josh just hated. I think it was the part that caused him the most stress, in that, he didn't want to let John down.
And we'd sit down and he'd go through all kinds of explanations why. And at the end I would say, Josh, it is what it is. So, yeah, you got the money. And then immediately he'd go back to 6'5".
It's really fucking exciting.
So we went on sale on May 13th, which was Friday the 13th, which Josh was not stoked on. He thought it was bad luck. I thought that was silly.
How many VIPs are available? Do we all know yet?
Hello.
Hello.
So you ready for this?
Update. Refresh.
49 sold for 3-day passes, 7 VIPs, 25 for Friday, 165 for Saturday, and 67
It's so funny because I remember walking in and Josh telling me where we were at, and I don't remember the exact number, but I remember we were so excited, like, oh my God, we've sold this many tickets already. And looking back, it's not a very big number, but we were just so excited. It was real, it was live, it was public. This is happening and we've done this. And I don't think there was a lot of stress. I felt like we thought we were gonna pull it off and we were gonna do it really well.
It's really awesome to turn on your car and hear Casey right over talking.
Oh, that's
fucking sweet.
In the first day, we sold under 100 tickets. It was somewhere in that ballpark. It might have been a little closer to 200, but still, when you're trying to sell thousands of tickets and you look at a lineup, we had the Specials coming back for their big, comeback tour and all these things, and artists that, you would never think would play on the streets of Long Beach. It was scary.
You want another berry?
You gotta at least cheer with.
Oh!
I got you. You
I think someone sold $1 million already.
$10 million.
Cheers.
Good work, guys. And this is non-alcoholic, just so you know.
I remember running into him somewhere and I offered to buy him a beer and he's like, no, I can't drink any beer. He jokingly said to me, if I have one more drink, I might die. And, he laughed. I probably laughed too. because I didn't know he was being like absolutely serious about it.
I remember him telling me that he had liver disease and like fibromyalgia, and I think it might have been a year before that he was actually diagnosed.
I remember we were coming from a meeting and he was like, hey, can you take me to the drugstore? I have to go get my medicine. And then that became taking him to the doctors. He wasn't well, was just talking about his liver and how it really just kind of was messing with him, his well-being, his quality of life. But he always went back to the festival is literally like what gets him up every day.
We have a couple guests that are going to be coming up on stage throughout the night, but first we want to introduce a very, very special guest who's going to kick the night off, our mayor, Robert Garcia. Thank you, Josh.
So while we're doing this festival, Josh is putting together these, it's called Live After 5. It's like this downtown Long Beach funded and sponsored monthly event that goes on that's free to the community. And when Josh does it, he did like Nightmare Before Christmas on a stage with a full orchestra and makeup and costumes and all that. And not only that, he performed in it. So like, we're trying to like build this festival, and here he is pulling off all these awesome, huge events that are drawing like 1,000 people or whatever.
Well, it was like a general level of insanity. But I think that as musicians, we're kind of used to that. But, we didn't have a ton of time to get ready. The choir, the orchestra, the band, and only a few days of practice. But I mean, that was just, his level of trust in the musicians.
I mean, they were business as usual. They were insane. 20, 30 performers and, however much production. As chaotic as it was, everybody is always so on board to make it happen. So it kind of, in a way, is seamless.
When I'm old and I'm looking back on performances in my life, I will probably heed that as one of my favorites. Robert Garcia introduced us. We had the mayor and the people's mayor, the meeting of the minds. It's cool.
The music scene in Long Beach is growing, and know that because of people like Josh, because of so many of the musicians that are here, Long Beach is really being put on the map when it comes to music in very new ways. And thank you all for being a part of that. So, thank you.
Once tickets got on sale, I remember getting contacted by the city, being like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
I remember telling Josh, before we went on sale, I don't think we should do that, before we talk to the city. And his response every time would be like,
this is how it's done.
You don't know how it works. You don't know how any of this works. It's weird that he chose people who weren't as experienced in doing events, but looking back, those are the perfect people to push and get what you want.
For a good 6 to 8 months, we were requesting meetings, getting pushed back. There was events that were more important than ours, and they weren't taking us seriously. So we're like, we gotta show them that we're serious.
Once you start selling tickets, it's real. And in our ideology at the time, now they can't stop us.
You were in the meeting with the city that first. Can you describe what they were like and what they said to the team?
Sounded like this. That was right after we just hired Brian Martinez to be our festival director. So Brian came in just after leaving the Eagle Rock Music Fest, organizing that for 15 plus years. So we knew he knew what he was doing, and we didn't. He came in, got us ready for this meeting, but at the meeting, we kind of threw him to the wolves.
Yeah, that was the first week I started. It was super tense, to be honest, because I think they were waiting for Josh to come up with more of a drawn out plan.
Okay, so here is the Art Exchange parking lot, corner of 3rd and Linden. There's also this paved lot on the other side of Acres of Books. Let me know what you think, buddy.
One of the biggest parts of the vision that I haven't really talked about is how important it was for Josh to do this festival on the streets of downtown Long Beach. This was not like a typical festival in a park to him. It really had this local kind of street edgy, dirty but amazing vibe, or just making something like the streets of downtown Long Beach be kind of transformed into something completely different.
He wanted to have people cross Metro. He wanted to shut Metro down. It was like 12 blocks. It was super long. It was down Pine. It went all the way down Broadway to the Acres of Book Slot, which just as a festival goer to walk would be insane, but that's what we were planning for.
I can't tell you how many times we walked down Pine and on the little connecting perpendicular streets to say, this is where we're gonna have a big stage, and here's where the egress is gonna be, and this is how we're gonna do all this.
It seems like this beautiful thing to put on that's like, this just makes sense. Of course we would do it. Of course people would want this. Of course the city would be behind it, right? Like, why wouldn't people want this? And then to go and realize that there's all these hoops that you have to jump through, and not everyone's stoked.
We created a website and we built out tickets on Ticketfly, and we put a festival on sale saying it was in downtown Long Beach, but not specifically where, no address, without ever having talked to the city about it.
That was the most unhappy I had ever seen a group of city folks ever in a meeting in my entire career. Deep down, you could tell they didn't want it to happen. And I felt like deep down they were gonna do everything they could to stop it.
Happy birthday to you. Jenny, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joshua. Happy birthday to you. Love having towns with friends.
I didn't notice anything for a while. The only reason I really started to notice any difference in his health was because I started finding empty bottles of alcohol. He said it was connected with the stress level and that he really wanted to stop drinking.
He's like, cold turkey, I'm cold turkey, dude. I stopped. I can do it. I'm doing this, you know? And he was just so confident about that in himself. So I just believed him. I just gave him the benefit of the doubt. It was just like, I believe you. And one night after work, him and Abby invited me over to dinner. Abby was there and was like, do you want a glass of whiskey? She pours me a glass of Jim Beam. I take a sip and I was like, I don't think whiskey goes bad, right? She was like, I don't think so. I was like, it tastes like coffee. This whiskey tastes like coffee. And I looked over at Josh and he was just ghost white. And he's like, Abby, I gotta talk to you. They went in the bedroom. They came out and Josh was like, I'm so sorry. I've been drinking. I fucked up one night and I drank that bottle and I put coffee in it. And I was supposed to, in my mind, I was supposed to replace it with Jim Beam, for real. And I didn't. You know, he's like, I talked to Abby and, you know, we're gonna work on it and figure it out, but I just wanna be honest with you.
I believed in Josh, and I believed in his vision and in the festival, and I knew he wasn't a perfect person. No one is. But he had planned a Christopher Guestival, and we were all watching Best in Show. And he had actually dressed up, him and Abby dressed up, and it was about halfway through the movie, and I came into the back room, and I caught him chugging a bottle of wine. And with his condition, and I knew how dire that was. I saw it with my own eyes. It broke my trust. And when you're in a position like that and we're working so close together, you have to have 100% trust.
I think there's probably a lot of things that we shouldn't talk about just from a professional level. Things that have gone on and things that have been said and, you know, stuff like that. I don't think it's necessary to talk about. If Brandon leaves, it's really hard for me too. You know, I don't need you guys to think that I've been trying to push this along or anything like that.
Shortly before the festival, Brandon is kind of confronting Josh and saying, we're gonna need all this money. And he didn't want to believe it because he didn't want to go to John Molina and say, either you give us this much more money, like twice what you've already given us, and we keep going on, or you cut us off and then all that money you spend is just for nothing.
I started being personally concerned. I was like, I don't know the people that are underwriting this thing. This is my fingerprints on these projections and these budgets. Am I personally liable if we can't come up with the money to put the final deposits down on these artists? Am I gonna have their people coming after me because I wrote the budgets? Before, when I had that trust, those ideas never came through my mind. But the second that trust was broken, it was a quick descent from there.
It's just, it does put a lot, like, on everyone else.
Like she said, I mean, generally, I feel like there is this chaos a little bit with having to regroup so quickly and do this within 7 weeks, and it just makes things way more stressful than it already is, and so I think take that into consideration too.
We started having regular, intense arguments. There was one moment I remember, I was like, is this guy gonna sock me in the face right now? At that point, you know, like we were all under so much stress that, you know, I kind of started throwing normal ways of dealing with someone in a business manner out the door.
The one thing I ask is that you guys all understand that whatever decision I make is what I think is best for the business and best for us putting out a really, really solid product. And I just ask that no matter what it is, no matter what your feelings are about it, that you support my decision.
It kills me that it came down to that, and it fucking sucks. It sucks that our argument ended up having to be about money where there were so many other things to fight about. Because at that moment, we were still bleeding cash and not selling tickets, and we still hadn't even nailed down 100% the footprint of the festival. And that was 6 weeks out.
I don't know how it's going to impact my restaurant. It might be great, but I certainly doubt it.
I'm here today just to find out the details and encourage the organizer to allow an in-and-out policy.
We held 3 community outreach meetings in which we, presented our map and our plans and the street closures and the bans to the people who lived in the directly affected area of where the fest would be happening, so in the East Village Arts District.
It was a packed house. We talked about our game plan, we had a PowerPoint presentation, and essentially it felt like pitchforks.
People were screaming, not at night, this is gonna be, like screaming bloody murder. This is ridiculous, this is parking. All it was about parking, or it was about closing the street for a night. I mean, I remember just negative. That's all I heard.
I think downtown Long Beach has been very quiet for a long time. So what may have been like this bustling downtown in the 20s and 30s has kind of quieted up until recently. And I don't think the people living there, when they moved in, were expecting it to ever be an entertainment district again.
I don't even think it was about music tastes good. They didn't trust the city to steward that opportunity for them. So they felt like it was just another time that Pine was saying, we don't want this festival, it's too much trouble, it's, the businesses don't want it, so we're just gonna dump it on East Village.
The paradox of caring so much about, creating something for Long Beach and caring about Long Beach, but then here we were making a lot of people in Long Beach very unhappy. I think Josh really cared about giving them an opportunity to speak or maybe more so giving an opportunity to convince them how great it was, because I think Josh was so surprised that anybody was upset about this.
I have a business.
I have a business too on First Street.
And let's say I'm planning something.
And he said he'll work with you, so we'll work with him.
It's how many weeks from now?
I didn't want to go to any other meetings after that. I kind of saw that my fellow shop owners and the residents here were kind of not willing to collaborate.
I had been doing events already that included a lot of street closures, and I knew how much trouble and how hard it was, how expensive it was. And when he started talking about having 3 stages, 5 stages inside the community, it sounds like an amazing idea. But in this town, people either love it or hate it.
My name is Geronimo Quitoriano, and I'm assistant manager here at the Lafayette. Our street is closed off a lot for like an art walk, and there's a Busker Fest music festival. So this would be like the 3rd one that month of September. It was pretty chaotic. Like people were they seemed to be anti everything. And then you hired that liaison, Mark, which he was very helpful.
I lived what turned out to be, there was a stage right in front of my apartment building. And since I worked for a former council member, some neighbors and business owners started reaching out to me. So I reached out to Josh and we sat down, and I just wanted to share with him what the thoughts were. And he really was willing to listen to the concerns and said, hey, I want to hire you as a community liaison to work with the residents. He already made a lot of changes and addressed some of the concerns right off the gate.
It's a weird thing because, on the one hand,
I was seeing a lot of it through Josh's eyes, which was pure excitement, pure enthusiasm. And I think he was a little surprised that people didn't all have that same enthusiasm for it, because in his mind, and he wasn't wrong about it, but in his mind, this was something he was doing for Long Beach.
Friday and Sunday are smaller days. It's only on one stage. We're looking at about 3,000 people for each day for those days. And then on Saturday, about 12,000, 13,000.
Here we were, we have not sold 15,000 tickets, and he's very convinced that we will. And he's like leading with everyone like that there will be 15,000 people there, which he's seeing it as something that's very positive, and they're like, what? Where are people gonna park? This is gonna be terrible. There's gonna be 15,000 people. Where that would have been a good moment to be more realistic about how many people were gonna come.
He wanted us to look big, and we looked big, but it was like 4 to 5 people making all that happen.
What does that have to do with? Where is your business here? What are you referring to?
Don't try to turn it on me.
I'm asking you a
I'm
question.
speaking for everybody and myself.
I don't think you guys understand the impact of having 15,000 people at your restaurant.
The city was in the very back row. I remember seeing them, and just the shocks on their faces of just what is happening. This has never happened before. Turned into, we need to change the signature for the street closures plan. Originally it was, a certain percentage that you needed to get for the owners of the buildings. Now you need to get the individuals.
Thousands of signatures. We had to get 80% of that population. We went door to door, apartment to apartment, unit to unit, just get everyone to sign off on this thing.
Thousands of signatures, or else the event wouldn't happen.
Okay, so today is, I think September 6th, day after Labor Day. And the ceiling caved in.
We'd been in the office for like a year and a half, but then all of a sudden, we start to notice that the ceiling is starting to bow slightly. I remember Lauren and myself going to Josh saying, hey, we need to get this taken care of. He was just like, I've got someone, I'll call them tomorrow. This went on for weeks.
Good as new.
And I remember one night saying the gap is big enough to put your hand in, we need to get this taken care of tomorrow. And I don't know why, but he got so defensive and he was so reactionary, and he just came at me with this story of, it's gonna be fine. I put my fingers and I hung from it and it did not break. And I'm just I can't remember if I laughed directly in his face, but it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
We had to evacuate, literally. It was rancid. All of our final meetings ended up having to be at a coffee shop. And we're talking our big meetings, our security director meetings, our staff meetings.
And so Josh is taking out this frustration on me. We're 2 weeks to the fest, why are we still working from this other place? And I'm I'm working on it. And then I get defensive with him and I'm like, did you really hang from that ceiling? We warned him and we tried. And now it's all on me for some reason. And I'm like, there's no way you hung from that. And he just got silent and he was like, are you calling me a liar?
I don't know how many times he has to be proven wrong. Fuck.
Chris.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Chris. Can we, just so I don't forget, run down everybody's names and roles?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's do an introduction.
I had to come in to Long Beach and fill a very particular role to help these guys sell tickets for this festival. I don't think I'd seen him probably maybe it'd been about a year. He picked me up at LAX and I hopped in his car and he had lost so much weight. It was scary and one of those things where he's give me a big hug and was excited to talk and tell me about the people that I was going to meet, but he was super skinny and I've known Josh to be a really big guy. When I saw him, he was bad.
A week before MTG, he goes, hey, I want to cook dinner for you guys. Can you and Jen come over? I made us roast beef. We're sitting there, we're hanging out, and he just looked so bad. I'd seen him every week since January of 2016. Hey man, you all right? And he was just he would just do that, handle, don't worry about it, man. Because he's yeah, I got at least 5 years. He'd always say 5 years. I got 5 years. 5 years.
He was such a good salesman. He was so good at it that he made a ton of people believe that this lifestyle that he had his entire life could just turn on a dime.
I was helping him try to extinguish as many fires as we could, but I just think it was one thing after another, one thing after another.
I'd stay in their guest room and Josh would sleep on the couch every night to the TV, and I don't think he ever slept. Like he was just awake. Sometimes I'd hear him get on the phone like 3 or 4 in the morning to somebody and like sometimes pretty upset. I said to him like, how's your health, dude? And he was like, I'm getting a lot better. You know, I beat diabetes, is what he said to me. I knew Josh was sick and we talked about it. And I remember saying, hey, Josh, what about a liver transplant? And I was in healthcare at the time. And so trying to find him the right doctors and et cetera. And Josh told me, and this was about maybe a month before the festival, you know what, my doctor said, I don't need a liver transplant. That things are moving in the right direction. I said, okay, Josh, are you sure? Because you don't notice the weight loss when you see him every day. Now, looking back at pictures, it was astounding. But I remember talking to him, and I don't know if he was lying to me or not.
This is Melissa McGinnis with Long Beach Local News, and the stage is being set for the premier music festival that's happening this weekend. Music Tastes Good Festival. It's a huge festival. There's several stages that are being set up on Broadway through the East Village. What can we expect to hear this weekend?
You're going to see bands. I mean, it's really eclectic. I mean, from old school country to progressive hip hop and everything in between.
I remember getting there super early that day. We actually felt very, production-wise, pretty confident with like how everything was unfolding with main stage because we had the luxury of 3 to 4 days to set up. It was like the calm before the storm.
I thought it was the coolest thing that we've had here, and I was so proud and happy that that's my hometown. It felt like a giant house party with no roof.
I was like, hell yeah, this is dope. Like, finally, let's go.
When you have rival sons headlining, I mean, they were on tour with Ozzy Osbourne and they jumped off tour to come and play a headlining set. Josh's little festival, because Long Beach is our hometown.
Playing a local show like this, I get to see all of my friends and family and people that we don't get to see.
What are they on right now?
Living Color right now, man?
That's Living Color right now.
Living
I
Color's
know.
playing right now. Let's
make this
quick. All right, sorry it is.
What made me the most nervous of that whole process, which was probably the most stressful part, was going in from day 1 to day 2.
At 10 p.m., that's when we got approval to get the streets closed.
Doors were 10 or 11 the next day, and we're building a second main stage and a smaller stage and a solar stage, essentially 3 more stages. But we didn't have the luxury of 3 or 4 days. We literally had 12 hours.
Doing all 3 at once was a hard thing to do, especially if I've already been working all day Friday and I had to have an overnight production manager take over everything else over that night.
I walk right past the solar stage and I look at it and I'm like, is that backwards?
Well, what the fuck do you guys fucking do, you know? It's like, don't you know that the festival's inside this way? It's like, what are you guys building it like that way for? I think it just came from us just like going around in circles, like just checking on everything to make sure that everything is good.
It was like the worst thing at that point. I'm like, Josh is gonna kill me.
I remember I was lying in bed with him when he got the call at like 6 in the morning, and he just rolls over and he's like, there's a backward stage.
I get there freaking out, expecting Josh to like yell at me for something. And we get there and Josh is laughing his fucking ass off. And I was like, how are you not freaking out? And he's like, what's the point?
And Josh is like, you know what, man? It's all good. We'll figure it out. It was just like, rock and roll show. They were like, well, we'll just move the speakers and put them and ground stack them on the stage. We had a beautiful backdrop that we had to get rid of and strike. And they were just playing to 2 banners that were backwards. And all the lighting they had to like kind of reverse engineer and move. And it was pretty noticeable.
At the end of the day, the festival has to happen. So no matter what, you got to meet your deadline. There is no extension.
Tell them to do what they got to do, you know? The show must go on.
Robin, we're good? Okay, I wasn't sure if that was them.
It's Hotel Royale. Oh.
We had fencing that wasn't up. Portas were like clustered. Stages weren't built yet because the company was trying to build all of them and they didn't have enough people. They were combining their staff, which they didn't tell us. And that's how they were offsetting their costs. I remember watching a guy have a security t-shirt on after his shift, took his t-shirt off, and then put on a polo shirt to go build a stage after he had worked like a 15-hour shift. I'm like, what is happening?
Because the festival was so spread out, production team was getting pulled in a lot of different areas, so things were getting behind schedule right out of the gate. Like fencing was the biggest thing.
Whatever could go wrong did, and then beyond that.
The VIP dinner, it was just a clusterfuck. Things started unloading and it's like the sink, it was the refrigerators, it was the stoves, it was all the shit that the chefs needed. None of those items showed up.
It just, everything hit first thing in the morning. Our signage wasn't there. We also didn't have power in the box office.
One of the main generators, the main power source exploded. And a stagehand described it as that thing just like popped 4 feet in the air and like exploded. And just, these aren't things that you usually hear about on, you know, a show day. These are bad things that are happening.
I've never had felt like that before. I've been through shows that like in the snow. Just last week, we evacuated the site twice due to like, you know, electrical storms, that sort of thing. I've been through a tornado. I've been through extreme heat, but nothing could really prepare me for something like this.
I remember we were like at least 2 hours behind, and I was on radio with everybody, and I'm just like, hey, everybody, we need to be safe, but we need to be efficient, and we need to get these things built.
So that morning, I find out about the stage and the generator and other things that are going on, and I get a call from our production manager, Carlo and I have worked on, at this point, probably 30 festivals together. Even when he's stressed, he's very logical, and it's very like, okay, what do we need to do? He's very solution focused. And I get a call from him, and I can just hear it in his voice, like, he's not okay.
He felt he was also set up for failure in a way, just kind of how I felt at that first meeting I had with the city.
Like during that time frame between 7 a.m. and about 9 a.m., I was calling all my different like production friends and asking them why I should stay.
He's like, I called Josh to come over. He's gonna meet us. So Josh pulls up on a golf cart, and this is actually the first time I met Josh. It's in this moment this morning. So Josh pulls up, and Carlo presents his case and says, I don't think we can do this. I think we need to cancel the festival. And I just remember Josh so calmly, but also very like assertively saying it's not an option. And there was just a way in which he said it. It was as if he fully knew. He knew everything that was going on and what was wrong. And but there was something bigger that you could just feel in the way that he said that's just, we have to move forward.
First thought walking in on Saturday morning was that crazy fucker did it. He fucking pulled it off.
Definitely enamored. I was like, holy shit. Overnight, there's like these stages. This is all blocked off. I usually go to coffee here. Like, this is nuts.
Seeing a resident on her balcony with a glass of wine, you know, dancing along. I mean, this was happening in my neighborhood. That doesn't happen.
You know, it was almost like in the movie Big Fish, where they have the thing at the end of the movie where everybody comes together and you're like, everybody kind of knows each other or knows about each other. And it really had that feel. Like I came out of it just being amazed that it had happened and being amazed that it had worked and being amazed that, you know, he had the audacity to pull it off.
I was amazed. That was actually when I first like understood his vision. It's like I saw literally like 100 friends and local musicians that I never get to hang out with, and it's just like, hey, we're here all day, let's hang out. Like, who are you going to see next?
The weather was perfect, and it was just so cool to walk around the streets and be around these multiple story buildings and have the open streets and go down this street and there's a stage over here, and go this way and there's a stage over here, and on the parking lot there's this other large stage. And it was just really, really something I've never experienced in our city.
I do think I remember closing up 1 hour early to go and see one of the acts that I really wanted to see. It was really amazing. I don't think I'll ever have a concert experience like that again. These major stages, major artists are just like nestled into streets and in between buildings, and you can just kind of hop and see major experiences.
It was fun just looking at the art and all the neighbors and people out and about, and saw friends and just went to all the different stages. I had a great time.
It was just brilliant. It was amazing to see the city structured that way. Things closed off, the way they set it up, stages right next to people's houses. It was just really breathtaking to see it in its glory like that.
All you hear is music on this side. You know there's another band going on this side. Like a real concert for a downtown district. It was pretty unbelievable.
I think my favorite moment at the festival was we were backstage. Me, Josh, Lewis was there, who was one of the first people on board in terms of the food, and just great friendship right there. That was my favorite.
I painted this one earlier. You want to see this one? All the bands they had coming, like these legendary acts, things like that, but this scale, people-wise, because it shut down half of downtown to do it. And the fact that he could combine music with the food element to it and all these different chefs, it was about as much as the food as it was all the big music that was going on.
I remember being at Padre and standing next to Josh and just looking around, and there were some crazy plates being thrown out, and it just felt like a festival of any magnitude is difficult to pull off, and to have that many people supporting Josh's idea, I thought he won at that point. It was real. And then seeing Dr. Dog, this is a band that I put out their first record many years ago, and seeing them grow and watching them play a fantastic set, being supported in Long Beach and being surrounded by, so many friends that I hadn't seen in years. It was pretty mind blowing.
And he kept telling me throughout it, he said, I want production to be high. I want people to say, wow. And that's how I felt walking around.
The Specials are one of my favorite bands of all time. And I told the agent that I would get a Specials tattoo if they confirmed. And before they performed, I went and got my Specials tattoo. No pun intended, that was really special that they played. It was really cool. I've booked over 10,000 bands, and it was top 5 highlight in my life that I got to book the Specials.
Everybody had an epic time. Everybody was caught up in the euphoria of what was going down, because it was something that hasn't been done. The talent that he had, the Specials and Deltron 3030, performing, it was nuts.
A Long Beach crowd is great. I personally like the food elements, and I think Long Beach is different than doing, a Coachella or something, because you're still part of the city and you still participate with what the city is. The local or size festivals, I think it's a chance for people to really explore and check out music that they may not have. You may not spend, $25, $30, $40 or whatever it is to go see one act, but you might spend more and you get to see, 10 acts. And I think that's the way that people get to learn about new music. We had a great time doing Music Tastes Good, hopefully come back sometime.
Deltron Zero is here as well to click together for real. That's pretty good, man. Yeah, he told y'all evildoers he is truly gifted in the matters of rhythm. Yeah, I'll give him that. Yeah, you gotta give him that. With his infinite wisdom, you know you gotta get with him. How's that? How'd I do? Good job. All is well with the cosmos. Yes, I got the report of 3030, yeah!
Long Beach has always been a music town, but it's been hard to get live music done. In the last, few years, it's really been growing, and the city council, the mayor, everyone is getting more accepting of events like this. And our food scene's been growing too, so it just kind of seemed like the right thing to do at the right time for Long Beach.
We went together to the festival Sunday morning, but then I couldn't find him all day. Like, there was a huge chunk of the day where I couldn't find him. He wasn't responding to texts or anything. And then once I finally found him, I think it was around like 6 or something at night. And he said he was just so tired, like he'd been sleeping in Vince's car all day. And De La Soul was about to go on. De La Soul is one of Josh's all-time favorite bands, historically, forever. And they were about to go on, and he looked at me and he's like, I think I need to go home. And I was like, what do you mean you need to go home? Like, it's De La Soul. Like, you know, are you kidding me? And he was like, I'm just so tired. Like, I'm just so tired. I have to go. And I was like, do you want me to come home with you? Like, is it that bad? Or do you just need to go sleep? Or what do you need to do? And he's like, no, I want you to see De La Soul, but maybe come home after that. Which again surprised me, because usually he was the type that was like, stay out as long as you want, you know, close it out, have fun. So the fact that he wanted me to see De La Soul, but that he wanted me to come home made me worried.
I think it was Sylvanesso was the headliner, and we're all kind of hanging out, and he was nowhere to be found. I didn't really question it though, you know, everyone was running around doing their thing, and I thought, hey, you know, whatever, he's with fam, Abby, you know, but I didn't think it was weird because he was just gone.
I just kind of pause and I look around, I take it all in, and I'm like, whoa, like, this is the last band, this is the festival, like, we did it, and, you know, I'm just wondering where Josh is, and an amazing moment that we did this, and I really wish Josh was standing next to me.
Give me a new single, make me a new baby, gonna eat all the candy while you straddle and lay me, gonna know all the words before you come on top, then I sing them back at you while you try to nap. What a wild ride song, we're so happy to be listening to our radio, our savior. What a wild melts on down, we're so happy to be listening to our radio. Now break it on down slow. Say to the radio, say to the radio, say to the radio. 3.3,
When I got home, he was asleep, but like it was still warm. It was still, you know, a pretty warm night, and the heater was like blasting. And then he started making like really odd, like moaning sounds in the middle of the night.
I was staying at Josh and Abby's house, and I was asleep. Immediately, I heard Josh kind of moaning in pain.
He finally kind of woke up and got up and was acting really frantic and like he needed water.
I just kind of walked out into the living room. Josh was sitting on the couch, pretty out of it, obviously in a lot of pain.
And then he just started yelling, like nothing that made sense, but just kind of saying no and yelling.
And it didn't take long for the ambulance to arrive.
They were asking him questions, and like he said his birthday wrong, and they couldn't really figure out what was going on.
The last 2 weeks of the festival, he borrowed my car. When I opened the door, the back seat of the car was just spilling out with like vodka bottles and wine bottles and like Sutter Home plastic bottles.
He was really good at convincing people that he was fine.
He, you know, I spent a few days there by his side.
There was no moment to go like, holy shit, guys, we all did it, you know? It was just into the gutter, and that hurt, you know? And beyond that, like, fuck, forget about the whole festival. This is somebody I've known for most of my life at this point. Yeah.
He just said that he was tired. and that he wanted to sleep. We have no control over who lives, who dies, and who tells our story. But in this moment here today, I am heartened by the fact Josh wrote one hell of a tale. His story lives on, and my hope is that we all go on to tell it. Tell it in your music, in your writing, in your art, in your love for others. Tell it by choosing to live your passion as he did. It's what he would want for all of us. Josh's impact was large and seems to be ever expanding. And I am saddened that he won't get to play out any more of his big plans.
Addictions are a very real thing. There's a stigma that if you're addicted, you're a bad person. And Josh was a shining example that that's not fucking true at all. He was one of the best people I ever met. He had a very serious problem, and it took his life.
We pulled it off, you know? I know he was stoked, but internally he was feeling like shit. And so it was impressive to see him put on a smile until the very end, you know? Because there was no sign of him actually. Nobody expected him to die that weekend. Nobody expected him to leave before De La Soul. Like his whole dream was to book De La Soul and watch them perform at his festival. It was like, he'll be back. He'll be back. You know, it's what I thought when I first heard he was in the hospital. And then when I heard that it was critical, I just couldn't do it.
When you see somebody with so much energy, so much passion, we immediately assume, you know, that they're okay. They know what they're doing. You know, if he didn't feel good, he wouldn't be doing this. You know, he must be okay. But he lived hard and fast. You know, I mean, that was his lifestyle. And the way I look at him is he was a comet. He came and he went, you know, and he left a mark.
I mean, set aside Josh, the great entertainer and the convener of the community and everything, he was just a wonderful person to talk to and share a laugh. And I also felt, well, if Josh is going to go out, this was the way. Talk about putting your heart and soul into something. That's what this man did. He put every ounce of his energy to the end into this festival, and it showed.
You know, he created an amazing event. It was kind of the pinnacle of his career. He died surrounded by the people that loved him, you know. Me and his brother were with him when he took his last breath. You know, I think that there's not much more you could ask for than that.
I think about him all the time. I mean, I really, probably more so than anything, I miss our talks in the morning. I would go and walk my dog to this area that overlooks the ocean. I'd call Josh or he'd call me, and we would talk for the full hour, the half-hour walk there and the half-hour walk back. And we had this thing where when I got to that bluff, if I saw dolphins, then a band was going to confirm that day. Even though I would talk to him throughout that morning, I mean, we talked throughout the day.
He was somebody who just loved sharing incredible experiences with his friends. And his friends went thousands deep. He made friends every room he walked into, and he wanted to share with every person that he met. And so even though it was forceful in the way that he succeeded in these missions, the root of it was altruistic, you know? It was bigger than just a guy's ego. It was wanting to bind a community.
He just kind of had these instincts and this intuition that was very spot on, and he saw something in people that people didn't see. He saw something in me that I didn't see, and he really believed in me, and I don't think I've ever had anyone believe in me as much as he did, as little as he knew me. He's crazy, but also, you know, very smart in that way and very intuitive. And, you know, he also was very talented and very good at like connecting people.
Working with him, I mean, it gave me faith that you could have a dream and pull something off like this. Like, everyone's got dreams, but he actually pulled it off.
He made dreams come true. You know, he always showed me that I could do as much with my life as I wanted. There were no boundaries. Don't take no for an answer.
It's the first thing that's going to my mind. Don't give up. I mean, if you want to achieve something in any part of your life, don't give up. And that's the one thing that he did touch with every single person I think he knew in his life, is that anything can be achieved. Doesn't matter. Do it your own way. Stand up. What is it going to do? Someone's going to say no? Okay, find another exit.
I mean, it's one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced in my life. And to see the impact that it's had on so many people, and the fact that he's still giving people music and good food experiences. And as long as music tastes good, carries on, it's him continuing to do what he loved. You know, enjoy people, enjoy life, enjoy your experiences. Don't forget them.
Anything else you want people to know about Music Tastes Good and what went into the festival?
No, I think you covered it all.
Are you stoked to get this thing started now?
Fuck yeah, dude. It's crazy. I'm insane. That's why I've been saying it like all week. I'm fucking crazy. I'm totally crazy. But I'm also dedicated and experienced, you know.
Well, thank you for putting this all together and bringing everyone together and doing this for us.
Yeah. Let's party.
Let's do it. Cool.